He's the host of The Left Hook. We can bring Wajin. Hey, it looks like you made it home too. It's good. It was great to see you at State of the Swamp. Steve, if you've got to go, no worries, but would love if you can stick around, hang in there if you can. But
yeah, I can stay for a couple more minutes.
Excellent, excellent. Waj, what was your take on what we saw tonight? I mean, this was even by Trump standards, an ugly, hateful speech.
This deranged, cankled vulgarian is still speaking. They must have given him Fruit Loops because you and I said in the green room, how long can his cankles support this weight of lies? It's what's really interesting about this one is in the past, right? We've had to endure this for 10 years. What's worse? What's the worst thing that can happen for a carnival barker? They become boring. You're right. They become stale. They have no new tricks. And I'm listening to him now, and he has no new tricks. It's the same old. This is like the emperor has no clothes, the Republican style, right? It's like the story that all of our, we taught our kids and we were taught. And you see all these Republican reeks. And, I was listening to your conversation. They know, Steve, they see the numbers. They've seen the disastrous numbers, the poll numbers that have come out. Folks who are watching, he's 22 to 26 points with independents. Ask Steve. Those are numbers that no one has ever seen. 22 to 26. He's lost Latino voters in the 20s with Latino voters. He's lost all the young voters. His favorability, folks, is at 36, and it might go down. He's negative double digits on the economy, on the trade war, on tariffs, on immigration. 47% of Americans for the first time say abolish ICE. And then also, something he didn't talk about, the Epstein files. He is negative double digits across the board, and he doesn't look like he has the stamina anymore, Jim. It seems like he's barely hanging on, but the cruelty, like you said, is still there.
Yeah. And watching you mentioned something that was terrific in that, when a carnival barker becomes boring, it's a problem. I mean, to me, the other issue too is for these Republicans who are there applauding this, they're sort of applauding their own political funerals right now. It seems to me, they look awfully enthusiastic about the albatross standing before them, and he's going to take them all down.
That's it.
In about 7 months, 8 months.
No, I mean, you said it.
Yeah.
I mean, I always said they were with Donald Trump. It's a Faustian bargain. It was a one-way ticket all the way up and all the way down. Once you let a Donald Trump take over your party, once you pledge fealty to a wannabe authoritarian, once you become a willing reek like Marco Rubio, who looked like just dead. If you ever want to see a man who's spiritually dead, look at Marco Rubio. It was like
that meme in the Oval Office.
Yeah. It was like a man living through his own wake. Couldn't even stand up. Look at JD Vance. A friend of mine, I have to share this. A friend of mine on WhatsApp was like, you see JD Vance's face? He looks like his face is clenched. How many farts is Donald Trump doing per minute? And I'm like, that's a really good point. That's probably what's happening right now. And you see Lindsey Graham, permanently living in Donald Trump's anus, the same man who 10 years ago said that, our party will be destroyed, and rightfully so, if we elect this man. You see grown-ass men who know better, who've pledged an oath to the Constitution, voluntarily prostitute themselves to this corrupt vulgarian, and they know, Jim, they know this man is going to drag them down. So when he went on his weird rant about mail-in voting, which, by the way, he has done mail-in voting. By the way, it's legal. And by the way, those Republicans, did you see that tepid applause? Because they know if they end mail-in voting, it's going to hurt them. But that's right. What happens when you become reeks for an authoritarian, all the way in, all the way. And now it was all the way up, Jim, all the way down. And the last thing I'll say, it's a serious note that Mitt Romney said in his when he was promoting his memoir a couple years ago. He said that he had to spend money, his own money, to hire security. And furthermore, he said his Republican colleagues, this was about 3 years ago, folks, he said his Republican colleagues who privately know this man's a disaster can't go against him because they're not afraid of Antifa. They're not afraid of Jim Acosta. They're not afraid of me. They're not afraid of Steve, whom they call rhinos. They're afraid of their own base. And I want to remind y'all, 2 days ago, yet another white male Trumper tried to kill him. To my count, Jim, that makes 3 former Trumpers that tried to kill him.
It's so strange. And Steve, one thing that you mentioned before Wajhat jumped on is you mentioned Lindsey Graham. And, talk about if there's a poster child for selling one's soul to Donald Trump, it might be Lindsey Graham. And I thought it was very interesting this evening. I saw some of the reporting out there of who was bringing guests to the State of the Union. Lindsey Graham brought David Ellison to the State of the Union speech. And that to me is not a good sign. This is the same David Ellison. It was reported earlier today. It looks like Paramount might not only own CBS. They may purchase Warner Brothers Discovery too, which means that they would own both CBS and CNN. And so this authoritarian project in terms of controlling the media, Steve, is racing ahead.
The magnitude of the corruption is just staggering. Lindsey
Yeah.
Graham is the chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. No words. The
Yeah.
corruption is epic. You Democrats are going to have control of Congress. They're going to have a Senate majority, and they're going to have a House majority. And the divide in the party is not between progressive and centrist. I don't know what any of those labels mean.
Yeah, agreed.
What matters is an appreciation that the maximum abuses of power have to be confronted reciprocally with a maximum use of every legal power and constitutional authority, from the local level to the state level to the federal level. So this is why it is so important that the White House ballroom be obliterated,
Yes.
and the property restored, because it is like the first day of practice. If we cannot do that together, we're not going to be able to break up the big tech companies.
That's right.
We're not going to be able to restrain the AI abomination barreling down the road. We're not going to be able to hold criminal officials accountable who must be held accountable. And so you look at Donald Trump, this is a guy who's up there like Fidel Castro.
Yes.
And fundamentally, he believes in this bubble of delusion that the more he talks, the better off he is. And the spin he's in is the more he talks, the less popular he becomes. And this farce plays out in plain sight, where everybody knows that no one means it and no one believes it, and they stand and they clap like stooges and lemmings. But we see it.
Yes.
And we appreciate it. And his coalition is falling apart. And all the big law firms and all the big tech companies and all the big media companies and all the corrupt acts and all the Bitcoin and all the hustlers and all the grifters and all the corruption, from the $70 million Christie Nome private jet to every single email that Corey Lewandowski has been involved in with no statutory authority whatsoever, all of it. Yeah. Oversight, accountability. And if a Pam Bondi comes up to the Congress in expectation from a lot of people that the Congress is going to exercise its inherent contempt authority and lock her up, there's an election denier, one of the dipshits from the Navy SEAL caucus in the House of Representatives that disgraced their oath. But an abominable sight tonight.
Yes. And it looks as though the speech is over. And Wajahat, you've got your daughter there. Beautiful family, man.
We don't judge us. We're all Pakistani night owls. My children do not sleep. They're vampires.
That's okay.
But can I share you with so this is the baby. She's 6. My 9-year-old, this is a true story. I was about to tweet it out. I just had the speech on, I was getting them ready. My daughter comes in, listens to, just watches. I didn't give any commentary. She listens to Donald Trump for 20 seconds. She goes, "You're so stupid." And then she just walks away. And I've always said, children know. Exactly. Children know. When Donald Trump first came in, my son, he was a baby, 3 years old. He was watching him. He goes, "Baba, I think he's a mean man." Children know, right? There's something pure and innocent about the children. Mm-hmm. And them seeing this, and you think about the children. I was thinking about this, Jim. I didn't get to ask you and Steve this when we're at, the event put on by Defiance. But I've asked a few other people. Look how much time this man has taken from us. Look how much peace of mind he's taken. From us. Look how much of our life he's taken from us because we care about this country. And it's, I talked to Mehdi about this. Me and Mehdi were walking towards the event, and he's like, just think about it. With Kamala Harris, despite my disagreements with her, we won't have to worry about, I don't know, war with Iran, illegally deposing a Venezuelan dictator and kidnapping him. We won't have to worry about ICE agents terrorizing the streets. We won't have to worry about him, pardoning the worst of the worst. We won't have to worry about our CDC. We won't have to worry about, I don't know, a big, beautiful bill, billionaire bill that would gut Medicaid. With this guy, every day it's a 5-alarm fire, and look how much time he's taken from us. It's a murder suicide. It's the murder suicide of America, and I just can't wait for this man to leave, because you and I, all three of us, are old enough. We know how it goes. You watch the State of the Union, right? If it's a Republican president, the Republican president touts his thing. There's some norms. There's some decency. Some people across the aisle, they play the game, right? You go to sleep. Most Americans, Jim and Steve, they don't care. They're watching a sports game. With this mother effer, you're like, this guy could declare war with Iran during his State of the Union speech. I don't know what's going to happen. Oh, and by the way, where are the Epstein files, guys? Where are the Epstein files?
No, that's exactly right. No, and talk about things that could have been different. I mean, I had a wonderful conversation with our friend Rosie O'Donnell earlier today, and if Kamala Harris had been elected president, and everybody can say, yes, I have these differences with her on this, that, and the other thing, whatever. Renee Good and Alex Preddy would be alive. They would be alive. You would not have so many children locked up in these detention facilities. We would not have all these detention facilities that are being proposed to open up all across the country, in a community near you. These are the things, that we have brought upon ourselves as a country, Steve Schmidt, and God help us. I know that we have to be optimistic, and it was great being at the Defiance event and showing that defiance, and God bless Miles and everybody for putting that on, and we're going to keep our chins up and all of that. But I have to say, God help us, because we have 3 years left of this, and there's a lot riding on this. Our children's futures are riding on this, Steve Schmidt.
I'm thinking about this, and I want to broaden our perspective here, and I'm going to give some gratis political advice to Democrats running for office in this year. And it's the right thing to do to think ruthlessly about a ruthless opponent.
Yeah.
Everything you said about Kamala Harris, of course, is true. It is true. But we have to accept something that John Lewis taught us. Donald Trump won an election, not with a majority, but a plurality and a small victory. He was elected by we the people, lawfully. 7 Democrats voted to confirm Kristi Noem, and another 7 didn't bother to vote at all. And now everybody has had enough time to get their good judgment working at a level that's sufficient for the moment.
Yeah.
And we have to appreciate the failure, the political failure in 2 out of 3 elections, but particularly the last one, was catastrophic, and it was historic, and there must be a clean break from it. There is no appetite for an expanding political coalition to hear Democratic partisans and careerists in Washington defend the record of Joe Biden. The era that produced Trump must be severed. No more Clintons. Barack Obama is not coming to save us. We saw some outstanding leaders like Jason Crow and Seth Moulton running against an 80-year-old. Senator Markey, time to hang it up.
Yeah.
And a new generation of leadership that understands technology, the threats to liberty. This is a momentous moment in the history of the country. And Donald Trump's encroachment against our liberty should be admonished. Don't tread on us. There's going to be elections, and he's going down in those elections. And he's not going to be able to stop the American people from asserting that we are the sovereign in this country. And that will always be so. And his assault on that is despicable, and it won't stand.
No, I agree with you. And to that point, Wajahat, I mean, I think Steve is absolutely right in that if the Democrats are going to be successful ultimately, enough with the half loaf nibbling around the edges, you know, Clintonian triangulation. It's just not going to cut the mustard. It may buy you another 4 years. Maybe you'll get a Democrat in there for another 4 years, but MAGA won't go away. This movement will not go away. I was talking with Timothy Snyder, the acclaimed historian, the other day, and he was making the case that what the Democrats need to do, and it's to Steve's point, I think, to some extent, is that they really need to come together with a bold, progressive agenda that drives the country forward.
Yep.
It's not looking back. It's not trying to fix. He described it as the car has crashed into the tree. You can argue over whose car it was, who drove, and it's just the car's totaled. So you got to start over, and you've got to come up with something that tackles income inequality. He was saying democratic reforms and a host of other issues. And it seems to me that's spot on. That's right on the money. And I think what I was hearing from that crowd tonight, you know, when people say fuck ICE, man, that gets some hoots and hollering that, I thought I was back in Nashville at the Grand Ole Opry or something. I mean, like it gets people fired. It gets people going when you start talking about fuck ICE. And people are pissed about this agency. And so if you're going to go out there as a Democratic candidate and you're not going to talk about abolishing ICE, I don't know where this is going to go. It seems to me it's not going to work out. It's not going to work out for you.
We don't have an opposition party. We have the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
And the Democratic Party, or rather I should say the Democratic establishment right now, is still wedded to an old, decaying, almost dead model that has lost, honestly, for 10 years. And they're a model that wants restoration instead of transformation. And what you and Steve are saying is what I've been saying, is that the people want transformation. They wanted transformation for 10 years. Now, Donald Trump is a liar. He's a bullshit artist, Jim. But what did he say? I'm an outsider. I'm going to shake up the system. It was all BS, but nonetheless, it won over a lot of people. He said, what? I'm going to be a bulldozer. The same people who voted for Donald Trump also like Bernie. In 2020, I would say was an off year because of the pandemic. In 2024, the same people who voted for Donald Trump, guess what? They voted for AOC and Mamdani. You don't have to like any of these candidates, but what separates them from the establishment class? They're outsiders. They're different. They're calling out the mistakes within their own party. And they're saying that this system is screwing you, and I'm going to come in and do something different. Now, the problem is the Democratic Party still believes it can be, if you will, a type of sleepwalker, just play possum, which I think is a terrible strategy, the James Carville strategy. They believe they've already won the election. They've already spiked the ball. And so what they're saying is we're going to go against our own base yet again. We're not going to release the DNC autopsy because the DNC autopsy will reveal we effed up on Gaza. We were too light with Merrick Garland and no accountability. And maybe we should have bear hugged some of our own base instead of, I don't know, Liz Cheney and put her in the driver's seat, right? Instead of that, what they're doing, look at it. When it comes to the billionaires, right? Steve and I talked for the first time today. He said, maybe we'll agree on the billionaires. I completely agree with him. Instead of taking on the billionaires, instead of taking on the broligarchy, they're taking money from AI and crypto. Sherry Bustos, the ex-DCCC chair, lobbyist, folks, she's starting a PAC. She's been flooded with money. Her clients are Oracle and AI. You got Joe Lonsdale. Joe Lonsdale, the co-founder of Palantir, is spending millions of dollars helping Democrats, both sides of the aisle. Gavin Newsom, who's the white knight, right? When he was given a meatball down the middle, Jim, 2 months ago, will you tax the wealthy, which is broadly popular across the board? He said they're part of the Big Tent. So what they're telling you, and they're telling their own base, is guess what? Donald Trump is so bad, we don't have to promise anything. We don't have to fight for anything. We don't have to take a risk on abolish ICE. We don't have to take a risk on Gaza. We don't have to take a risk on billionaires. We could just sleepwalk, which is why we're not even going to release the autopsy. But the fear here is, and ask people this, Jim, because you talked to a lot of experts. I was talking to another friend of ours earlier tonight. This is my fear. They believe they're going to waltz in, all right? They're going to win the House and the Senate, inshallah, if we have free and fair elections. You're going to get a repeat, folks, of 2020. But what's worse, they're not paying attention to 2032. My fear, Jim and Steve, is that if they do business as usual, if they do restoration instead of transformation, we're going to get Nick Fuentes as our president in 2032 instead of AOC. Because check it out, if I may, real quick. Steve Bannon, I don't take these people, you know, I'm in
I
this.
think Tucker Carlson's going to be the nominee in 2028.
Or Tucker, right?
Somebody, a
Something like that.
lunatic.
There it is.
They're going further to the left on Democrats on AI. They're going further to the left on Democrats on Gaza. They're going further to the left on Democrats on elitists. And look at early 1930s Nazi Germany. When the elites and the institutions continued failing people, you had, yes, psychopaths, extremists come out and then win. So we need a New Deal. We need a transformational candidate that steps up and does an FDR-style populism. And Jim, if they do that, you run circles around Republicans. You'll get Latinos, independents, people who are disaffected. You'll get workers. You'll revitalize the Democratic Party. But the problem is, Jim, will they break away from the broligarchy? And right now, on February 24th, 2026, the answer, Jim, is no.
Yeah. Steve, yeah, I mean, when you try to be all things to all people, you end up being nothing to nobody, is kind of the old.
Well, there's an urgency, a moral crisis, right? There's a moment that has to be met. And FDR, what he talked about in 1932 and 1936, he says, beware to the great malefactors of wealth who seek to clip the wings of the American eagle.
That's right.
And the reality is that we have a lot of issues, a lot of problems, an insolvent country, a broken military. And we are at a position of transcendent weakness, not strength. And so there will need to be epic reforms, constitutional amendments passed. And the great project that comes out of a season of accountability and the great disbarment from so many lawyers. What comes after that is the ability to start deconstructing power from the American presidency, an office that was never intended to be a Caesar, as evidenced by the Turnbull painting hanging in the Capitol that shows Washington refusing to become one. And so this moment is an appalling one.
Yeah.
You know, John Lewis said, doesn't matter what ship our ancestors came in, we're all in the same boat now.
That's right.
We have to deal with this. The American people chose it very narrowly. The Democratic Party failed spectacularly. Gaslit the country. Country didn't reject democracy. Country rejected the farce of a guy who couldn't walk upstairs and speak in a coherent sentence, that he was the only person that could conceivably beat Trump. Trump was like Freddy Krueger in the 8th movie, a convenient prop, a justification. It was appalling. Democrats look at Republicans and criticize them appropriately for getting in line with the obscenity. Democrats, when it was time to say, no, this doesn't make sense, allowed this to happen.
Yeah.
Now that we're here, we have to appreciate that never again. At a moment in time where the concept of never again, we've lived to see it be challenged as an authoritarian fascist movement rises with the poison that if you destroy the Somali, the Arab, the Muslim, the Jew, whomever, the Mexican, that will be great again. It's the deadliest lie in history, and it's at the root of what Donald Trump, fascist, demagogic cancer has become.
Gentlemen, excellent conversation. Steve, right on point as always. Wajahat, excellent analysis from you two. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. I've got Senator Andy Kim standing by. I want to get his analysis, but thank you so much. Good to see all of you. Thank you.
I just want to tell Andy Kim, you know, I know you got a Millennium Falcon, and I want to show this to you because with success, just wanted to show you, this is in your future, sir, right there. There you
I don't know if you can see right there. That's
there you go.
Now, there you go. So I have hope in you, sir. I have hope in you.
I should have mine. I should have mine somewhere nearby. But
when
I think
you
it's
win your next election, have your wife buy you the big set before it retires.
That sounds good. I'll be in touch with her.